For more on the leaked audio from Biden's interview with special counsel Hur, let's bring in Washington Democratic Congressman and ranking member of the House Armed Services Committee, Adam Smith. Congressman, welcome.
Thanks for having me on.
So let's play a snippet of this President Biden audio, and I'll get you to react to it, sir.
And so I hadn't at this point, even though I'm at Penn, I hadn't walked away from the idea that I might run for office again. So if I ran again, I'd be running for president. And so what was happening though, one month ago dying, May 30th, 2015. Was it 2015 he died?
2015.
I think it's 2015.
I'm not sure the months are, but I think that was
Yeah.
That's right, Mr. President.
And what's happened in the meantime is that Trump gets elected in November of 2017? 2016. All right. So, why do I have 2017 here?
Congressman, I love having you on TV because I consider you a very serious national security lawmaker. Does it make you furious with the Biden inner circle for not coming clean about how he was doing?
I mean, yeah, I've felt that way for some time. Clearly, Joe Biden should not have run for re-election. I think that was true in 2022, even when he was doing better. At his age, it never made sense. He had said that he was going to be a one-term bridge. Look, it was a colossal political mistake to have him run again for president. And, I think we should talk about that within the Democratic Party. I don't think we should say that was just the past. I mean, what led to the situation where we had that decision? Frankly, I'm at a loss to see how anyone could argue otherwise. And gosh, even after the debate, we had people who were still defending him. And I was one of the first to come out and say, look, he's got to go. He's obviously not up to the job of running for re-election. So, I think this is pretty obvious at this point. This leaked audio, adds to that, but it certainly isn't really terribly surprising.
Plus, he was commander-in-chief in a dangerous world, right?
Yes. Now, that's an interesting part of it. I will say, as I dealt with the White House, and as I've said, I only spoke to the president once during his 4 years in office directly, and that was back in 2021. I never saw any evidence that they were making crazy policy decisions. You may disagree with the policy decisions, as I'm sure much of your audience does, but I never saw evidence that they weren't doing it in a thoughtful, deliberative, and intelligent manner. So I never saw anything from where I was looking. It's like, oh my gosh, the White House doesn't know what it's doing. So I did not see that. But clearly, you could see that he was not up to running for re-election in 2024.
All right, to current foreign policy, Russia and Ukraine, we know that there were some face-to-face meetings yesterday. Exchange of prisoners was agreed to, but not a ceasefire. President Trump says he's going to speak to Putin Monday morning. What about the effort to find peace in Ukraine, sir?
Well, I think the key part of it now is to make sure that we keep pressure on President Putin. And I have been critical of President Trump. From when he came into office, he had that terrible Oval Office meeting with Zelensky. There was a brief period when we cut off aid to Ukraine. We voted against resolutions condemning Russia's invasion of Ukraine. That really gave Putin a green light. It said, look, just wait long enough and the U.S. will abandon Ukraine. I think that lengthens the war. Putin will only stop when he knows that Ukraine is going to be able to stop him. And it is key that the U.S. and the 53-nation coalition, which, by the way, the Biden administration put together, which did a pretty good job of blunting Russia's momentum, got to stop Putin first. Got to make it clear he's not going to grab more territory. And then Putin will be in a better position to negotiate. And I've seen some shifts in the way President Trump has been talking about this recently to be more supportive of Ukraine. But that's the key. Ukraine needs security guarantees, and we need to make sure that we preserve a sovereign, democratic Ukraine. Look, Putin is struggling right now. The war has not been going well for the last several months. They've been taking on horrific casualties and not making any progress. If we stick with our support for Ukraine, I think that can force Russia to the negotiating table in a sincere way.